that they're about you.
No.
Or I say something.
Just like me.
Yeah, or I say something in class and you think, how does he know that that's going on in my life? I know he's talking about me. I get that kind of stuff all the time. No, I don't have any plan when these come in. Oftentimes I set these things up a year in advance. I've already set up the ones for next year, and I won't look at them again until the morning that we do them. They'll go up on the screen, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes I wonder, like, what the hell was I thinking last year when I put this one up? This one it was straightforward. I set it up this morning. I looked at the one from Margaret Atwood, and I just said, it's just not dark enough.
We have to really make sure these kids have their morning.
Yeah, because I'm thinking we got some rain today, we got some dark clouds. Let's bring some dark clouds into the room.
Yes.
But here's the thing, the dark ones have a lot to them, because I say it nicely. I'm sure you have a lot of teachers who had posters up on the walls for years. You just have to believe and you can achieve. Just strive and you can, it's not that easy. Because you have to, in order to see that kind of a light, you have to deal with the darkness that's inside of you. And I'm not saying that everybody in here is just dark and miserable, but even if you don't have any of that in you, you need to recognize that a lot of people around you do. And if you're going to navigate yourself in the world, you have to be able to navigate the darkness, not just of yourself, but of other people. And this is probably a time in which we're encountering most of it because we don't have kind of like a frame of reference. In other words, everything can seem very dark. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So that's good though. If you see these things and you find some bits of yourself in what we're talking about, that's one of the hopes for them anyway. That you can learn how to navigate these things inside of yourself. Because I would bet that a lot of you have this thing going on here. You've got friends, you've got health, of course, and you kind of have a career. By the way, you have the best career imaginable right now, which is as a student. I was talking to a class yesterday they were asking about college, and I said that there were only 3 reasons that I thought that a person should even go to college. And it was fascinating to me. Do you know what I told them? Nothing. Because not one single person asked, what are those 3 reasons? After we were done talking, somebody came over to my desk, a couple of students came to my desk, and they said, yeah, you didn't explain, though, like what those 3 reasons were. I said, nobody asked. And they go, huh, we just thought you would tell us. No, you didn't ask. It wasn't part of the main focus, but one of those 3 things was to be a student, which is it's almost like a privileged class that society sets out for you. Here at this school, we've carved out 4 years for you to come to school, and the only thing you really have to do is show up and learn. And you're being taught by people largely who do the thing that many of you say you want to do, which is go to college. I'm not saying that everybody who's here, I'm not even saying most people, I'm not even saying more than a handful of people here maybe are people that we would aspire to be like. But they do have a thing that many of us say we want, which is a career that pays exceptionally well, especially for what we do, and have gone to college and have those experiences that many of us say we want to have. Maybe you don't want their personalities, but maybe you want the things that they have. And so we carve out this 4 years to tell you how to go about getting that. And then when you leave here, for those of you who go off to universities after that, we've now carved out 5 years for you, 4 or 5 years for you, to commit yourself to becoming a stronger personality by learning as much as you possibly can. And that's mostly your responsibility. Sure, you may have a part-time job, you may have some other responsibilities. It isn't that you have nothing else to do. But it's a time in your life where this is your absolute focus. Your focus is on becoming smarter, becoming wiser, becoming more worldly, more knowledgeable, to become more social, to interact with people around you, to learn how to navigate society. That's your whole job right now. And it's a neat career, especially when you consider what jobs other people have. And so when you leave here, if you do end up in university, that's one of the reasons that you should go, because it gives you this almost like privileged status in our society. You can walk around and say, oh, I'm a student at such and such place. You know, I was talking to someone this weekend, and he was telling me that he's a student over at SDSU. And in my head, I just thought, let me guess, business or finance or something like that. So I asked him, oh, neat, what's your major? He says, finance. It's like immediately, just something about this person, I looked at him and said, this person is going to be doing finance over there. And then you can tell just kind of interacting with him and some things that you can put together about his background on that. But you know, I was interacting with him at his job, And that was like his whole, like his big thing wasn't his job at all. It was, I'm a student. It was that privileged kind of class that we have set aside for people. And so you don't, maybe you have friends, maybe you have help, maybe you just don't recognize the privileged status that you have as a student right now. But that's part of the point. If you can start to work your way backwards from there, you have this incredible career right now. And I wonder how many of you are miserable in it. I don't even have to wonder. I think I can just look across and see the faces. I can walk through the hallways. I can see the interactions. You don't fool me with that smile. I can go through and I can see how many of us are just miserable in this one career that we have here. And why? Because we don't appreciate it. And I don't know why we would appreciate it. We kind of live in a culture and a society where we're constantly being told things like, oh, school. And then as soon as you trudge your way through here, this is terrible. And then about a year and a half, you'll be applying to places that you're begging them to let you go spend $20,000, $30,000 a year to go there. People will now be lining up and begging universities to go there. And we're going to feel like trash of ourselves if a university says, no, we don't want you $30,000 a year, stay where you are. And we'll be like, this is a criticism on me. By the way, yeah, it is. It is. It is a reflection of what we've done the past few years. I could lie to you and say, it's no reflection on you whatsoever. Of course it is. Yeah, the work that you do in your life, where you end up, it's an absolute reflection of you and the work you've put in or haven't, the things that you thought or haven't thought. And again, I could lie to you and just tell you, no, the world is just unfair. Yeah, it's unfair, but there's a lot that you can do to mitigate that. And so, any of you guys ever sit there, I wonder, and say, wow, I'm so lucky for the health that I have. This is amazing. I had a student a few years ago, well, I guess more than that now. I was in class making cancer jokes. That's what I do. And it turns out she had cancer. She had survived it, but she and I'm like, God, how old were you when you had cancer? She said, I was like 8. I was like, man, God must hate you. He gave you cancer at 8. And it was neat because she thought that was hilarious. Other people who didn't go through what she had gone through, they didn't find the humor. And they go, that's so mean, Scout. How could you possibly? And she's laughing her ass off at these jokes because she's been there, because she has a frame of reference. She's been on death's door, and now she's not. The cancer was in remission. She's beaten it. And then she's able to appreciate this thing. Many of you have friends around you, and I'm not going to do that thing of putting quotes around. They're not really your friends. They are your friends for this moment right now. They're your social group. So really, you do have friends, and you do have health, and you do have a career right now. And we have few responsibilities. You might think, but when I get home, I have to do, in terms of like the grand scheme of life, you have few responsibilities. Maybe you have more than the person sitting next to you. This is true. I know some of you do. But maybe you don't have as many as your parents do. And so you can go crazy by judging yourself versus, I have more than this, but not as much as that. Who cares? It's about you and where you are, not where other people are. So my point is that some of you should be able to relate to this. Maybe you have friends, maybe you have health, maybe you have a career, but you still find yourself in misery. So now that question becomes, why? And it goes back to something I think it was you something I said. It goes back to something that one of you two were saying. You can rewind the video and watch. But maybe there's something about misery, that misery's in the mind. Was it you? Yeah. So misery's in the mind. It was you, right? Okay. So misery's in the mind. And it doesn't, it's hard because when we say stuff like that, we're like, you have to choose, you have to decide to be happy. And then we're like, oh, that's so wonderful. I should put that on a poster and throw it up in a classroom somewhere. You can choose to be happy. If it was that easy, wouldn't you all just choose to be happy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Trick question. I don't know. Some people are dead set on being miserable. Some people are too smart to be happy. Some people are too happy to be smart. Some people are so smart that they're absolutely in love with the world and the beauty of it. And it has everything to do with your own individual mind and how it is that you're perceiving the things around you. Now, can you shape that in some way? Yes. How? But you have to do it. How do you do it? You just have to do it.
Yeah.
So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms? Yeah, you have to find a way to do this to sharpen your mind. And a lot of this is going to begin with this word that is almost anathema to a lot of us.
Grace.
No. How come I can't spell the word?
What word is it?
I can't tell you because it's embarrassing. All of a sudden I forgot how to spell the word. I think my mind is dying, by the way. No, I really do. I really do. I think that, I don't think I have much, I don't know. I'm forgetting names, I'm forgetting places.
Oh no, he's getting dementia, guys.
No. That would be a great defense. I wish I could say that. Maybe someday there's a prosecutor who's going to watch the video and go, he was showing signs of it in 2022. It's a matter of appreciation.
Oh, there we go.
Gratitude.
Gratitude!
Shut up. It's about having appreciation.
I forgot how this one got into too. It's fine.
That's different. You're out in front of a class.
Guys, we should show him grace.
Shut up, Dr. Scout asshole. To be able to show, okay, fine, if you prefer the word gratitude, to have gratitude, or appreciation, as I was saying, for the things that we do have. How many friends do you have in your life? I mean like real, like people you would really sit there and go, friends. You know, if you've got 1 or 2 friends, you've got a tribe, man. You have a tribe. If you've got good health right now, you won't someday. So appreciate this, because someday you won't. And by the way, when you don't, you'll probably look back at all those days when you had it and wish that things had been better. Wouldn't it be great if we could appreciate it in the moment? To be able to be aware that someday my health won't be great, to be able to look at people around us who get ill and say, man, someday that's going to be me. And to actually recognize that that's going to be you, because it probably will be. But not in a dark, like, man, someday I'm going to... No, like, holy crap, today I can do all kinds of cool stuff. It's like I was talking to someone yesterday, class yesterday. If you guys wanted to travel to London, let's say, take a guess, how much do you think it costs to fly to London round trip? $500. $500. I know I'm probably talking in abstracts because we probably have never looked at it before. If you decide to fly to London in February, I happen to know it's $601. That means that if you get a job that pays you $15 an hour, it's going to take you 40 hours to save up $600 to be able to fly to the other side of the world and back. How much would it cost you to get hostels or hotels if you're over there? Probably if you're there for a couple weeks, probably another $500, roughly. So for about $1,100, or about less than 80 hours of a part-time job, you could fly to London and back and live over there for a couple weeks and have a hell of an experience. You know? I wonder how many of us look at that and say, yeah, that's a lot of money, those gallons. You know what? When I'm older. When you get older, it's going to get more expensive, because right now you can stay in what are called hostels. Those are like community dorms. And if you're 18, 19, 20, you probably don't care that you're doing that. If you're in your 40s and 50s or 60s, you probably don't want to stay in hostels. So now things become more expensive. Plus, you're not able to do as much as you used to because you're going to be older. You're going to have to take more metros, more taxis. You won't be able to walk as many places. Things will get much more expensive. And you're going to have those experiences for less of your life. In other words, if you go when you're 18, you've got another 70 years of life. You got 70 years of cool experiences ahead of you. I'm sorry, cool memories ahead of you. If you go when you're 60, you've got 10, 15 years ahead of you to remember those great times. You know, but the sooner that you can go and do those things, the more of your life you can appreciate it. If this makes sense. Same is true with these things here. The sooner that you have gratitude or appreciation for your health and your career and your friends, the more of your life you have to enjoy, to be able to look and go, wow, that's really neat. That doesn't mean you have to be satisfied with where you are right now, but to look at where you are right now and say, that's really cool. I wonder what things are going to look like in 15 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. If you're not appreciating what you have right now, if you don't have gratitude for where you are right now, of course you're going to look forward miserably and say, man, things are not going to get any better in the next 15, 20, 30 years. It's about appreciation. It's about having gratitude. That doesn't mean you have to be in the best possible position. It just has to mean that you have to be gracious or grateful for where you are right now. Grateful for where you are right now. It's hard. It's difficult, especially in our culture where we look around and we're almost trained to have envy for people who have more than us and are in better positions than us, and to hate people who have more than us, and to despise privilege while we completely ignore the fact of our own. It's unfortunate because it's an absolute recipe for misery. So anybody who wants to rile you up and wants to tell you how terrible things are and how ugly the world is, I don't trust them. They want to do it for a reason. Probably because they want to use you. Probably because they want to get you pissed off to make some changes that they want to happen. If the only way someone can get you to change the world is by making you miserable, well, what the hell kind of world do you think you're going to create, except for a miserable one? So, be grateful. And learn how to spell gratitude.
All right, guys.